Hello, everybody. My name is Timo Vuorensla. I'm a director of an awesome film about the Nazis from the dark side of the moon called Iron Sky, and you are listening to Johntertainment.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Johntertainment. If you happen to be new to the show, Johntertainment is part of the sci-fi pulse radio.com network, and we're your hosts, Marks.
And Julie. Johntertainment is where we talk about what's happening in the world of film, TV, books, and web series. We give you interviews with writers, directors, producers, and actors in both independent and not quite so independent creations.
This is episode 124, and this time our guests are Jeffrey Michael Bays and Jay Plyburn. They're here to tell us about their new film, Not From Space, a sci-fi comedy film about a dysfunctional cable news channel on the day aliens arrive in orbit.
Writer and producer Jeffrey Michael Bays, a.k.a. the Hitchcock Whisperer, is a filmmaker and film scholar with a Master of Arts in Cinema. He's also the author of Suspense with a Camera and Between the Scenes. Now, actor and producer Jay Plyburn is a broadcast journalist graduate of Marshall University and was a morning news anchor. Now, he's producing and developing a variety of TV and film projects.
Jeffrey and Jay tell us how this story originally told on the radio has made the transition to film, and also about the fun crowdfunding program they currently have underway. We talk about the film, the crowdfunding campaign, Hitchcock, journalism, and much more.
Now, before we get started with the interview, we should mention that the music you hear at the start and at the end of the show is from our friend Tishan Hardy. He composed the theme song for our web series, Reality on Demand. Now let's get started with the interview.
The information we have, just the fact that it crashed and we don't know where it came from,
points the way to a population that was perhaps spread throughout the solar system.
The president making an announcement there that he has called the world leaders to the United Nations, a move which brings nations small and large to the table.
Well, welcome, Jeffrey and Jay, to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
We have you guys on to talk about your upcoming project, Not From Space. Can you guys tell us a little bit about that project?
Yeah, Not From Space is it's a first contact movie. It's a feature-length film. It's sci-fi. It's about the day that aliens arrive. Which that there's a lot of movies like that, right? But what makes this one unique and different is that the whole movie is a news channel. So the entire length of the film is as if you're watching a news channel. At first, nobody takes it seriously. So, there's just kind of a normal day, a normal, events and conspiracy and news frenzy that's happening that morning. And somebody discovers ancient artifacts at the South Pole. Nobody sees it as a big deal. And so it's in the middle of the film that the alien ship crashes into a farm field. So then at that point, nobody can deny it because it's live on TV. So it's live coverage of this spaceship that has crashed, and we have a live shot of it. So then finally, everyone is forced to take it seriously. So it starts out as a comedy. It's very satirical all the way through, but the alien part of it is taken seriously.
As it should be. I mean, I try to think of how we would respond if aliens were to land at any moment, and this is no joking matter here we're discussing.
Yeah. So this project originally was a radio drama, correct?
Yeah, that's right. It was on XM satellite radio, starting in 2003. It was they broadcast it as a Halloween special.
Oh, cool.
And then so every Halloween they repeated it several times. Up until the merger with Sirius, and then they changed their programming there and stopped doing audio theater. So unfortunately, got lost in the mix there. But did very well. It was very popular. It was had kind of a cult following for a while, and this was before Facebook and Twitter. So unfortunately, now it has to find a new audience because there is no that original fan base hasn't yet found it on Twitter and Facebook. So this movie, we're building it from the ground up. We're kind of shooting this kind of like a documentary. So we're collecting scenes throughout the year and then eventually building up to this final news studio scene that'll finish it off, because half of it is in the news studio. Mm-hmm. And so the other half is, it's B-roll and press conferences. And we also have commercials in the middle of it. It's fictional sponsors. Uh-huh. So really trying to make it as realistic as possible, as if it's a news broadcast, because we really want to bring people into this world and believe that it's actually happening. And then what happens is that the aliens take over the broadcast. Oh. And the aliens say that everything you've just heard is not true. And so there's this moment of you're questioning what you've been watching. And so it's kind of like it kind of speaks to that fake news thing that's been going on recently.
Was the story always told that way in the radio drama? Was it told partially in clips like that, or did you make any big changes plot structure wise, making the move from audio only to visual?
Well, actually, it's pretty similar. The original radio broadcast was as if it was a news channel, mm-hmm. as well as if it was a live news broadcast. So it's a full day of news condensed into about 2 hours. So it feels like you've experienced an entire day, but through tricks of timing and things like that, we make it shorter. Mm-hmm. But the only difference is really, there are a lot of differences, but as to the story, we've added a few characters. We've added a weatherman to the morning show, because that is really important in TV news, right, Jay?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I think most people watch the news to figure out what the weather's going to be. I don't know.
Yeah. So we had to have a weatherman in there.
Uh-huh. So what part does Jay play in this? Is he the weatherman, or is he?
Oh, so it's been a series of upgrades for me from day one. I actually come from, I have a degree in broadcast journalism and worked as a news reporter and eventually news anchor for the better part of 10 years. And then just about 6 months ago, decided to fully invest my time in pursuing more TV and film opportunities from an entertainment perspective. So moved to Atlanta, which is now a hub for productions in the entertainment industry. But I'm very familiar with TV news, having done that for, like I said, about 9 years. And when I first saw this post online that he was casting different roles, I actually submitted for a Bill Clinton lookalike, confusing what I saw with a Bill Clinton impersonation. I do somewhat of a Clinton impersonation, so I thought, this would be a great time to use my impersonation skills. And that's not what they were looking for at all. They were looking for a lookalike, and as it is, I don't actually think I look anything like Bill Clinton. But in talking to Jeffrey, quickly found out there was a bigger part for me in this film because of my degree and my knowledge and my experience in the news. So I became the White House news correspondent, the coveted position, and it's a big part of the film. So that was an exciting transition for me. And then I got to kind of take part, like a lot of people did, filming my part in front of a green screen and kind of being directed by Jeffrey remotely. He was in a totally different state, but telling me, here's how I want it to be set up, and make sure you shoot some behind the scenes footage and everything. And so I really had a lot of fun with this process and got the script a few months ago and thought it was great. And then I guess my role has kind of expanded again, because it looks like we're now going to do some production in Atlanta, where I live. Maybe some of the newsroom scenes, certainly a press conference scene that's a pivotal point in the script. And so I don't know what is my title now, Jeffrey? A producer of sorts, a liaison in the Atlanta district, or something of the sort.
Yes, all of that. That sounds good. So
perfect.
he's helping us produce some press conference scenes. There's 10 minutes worth of press conferences in this movie, and it's NASA and it's Pentagon. And the fun part about this is that they don't agree. So they're having competing press conferences refuting what each other says. So the Pentagon says something, and then NASA has to put together a conference to say, no, that's totally wrong. They don't know what they're talking about. And then the Pentagon comes back and says, no, NASA's wrong. And so that's where the fun comes in.
Seems like a lot of truth to that part of the story as well.
It seems to be happening a lot nowadays.
So Jay mentioned the green screening. We did that for 20 actors already. So this really is a global production. A lot of it produced online. 14 news correspondent and pundit roles. Those have already been finished via green screen. And then we do a Wall Street balcony scene where there's people waving on Wall Street during the opening bell. And so what we've done is we've collected different people waving and clapping. So we've got about 10 people that have green screened themselves into that. And we're constantly adding more people. So by the end of it, we may have 20 people composited into that shot. So that's kind of cool. But, the production, it brings people together. And so the scene that we're crowdfunding now is the core moment, the big event where the spaceship crashes. And so we have a crowd that starts to gather to see, what's going on. And so we're actually inviting people to come and watch. We're actually staging this in a public place and inviting the public to come watch us film this 20-minute first contact scene. So that's what we're raising money for on Indiegogo. If you go to Indiegogo and search for Not From Space, you can find it pretty easily. And we appreciate all donations, any amount. Small amounts are good. Big amounts are obviously good as well. And the top donors will actually get to come to Missouri and ride in the presidential motorcade and be in the movie and participate in the first contact scene. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, you also, revenue from the film, you're going to do donations too, or how's that working? I saw something about that.
Yeah. After the film is released, we're donating proceeds to charities like Direct Relief, Oxfam, and UNICEF, because the story itself, it's about greed. It's about human greed. And the premise is that, this is the big thing that humans are going to have to face when aliens show up, is our tendency toward greediness. So it felt like a good idea to donate proceeds of the film to help feed impoverished parts of the world, because there is a hunger crisis in the world right now. 1 in 9 people on the planet are hungry, and those organizations are on the front lines. So we're donating proceeds of the film when it's finally finished and released to them. So it's for a good cause.
Yeah, I think that's great. So Jay, since Jay has that journalism background, whenever you came on board, was there anything that you saw in the script from a journalistic perspective that you were able to add or make suggestions to from your personal experience?
Not the script itself necessarily. I think when it came time for me to shoot my part in front of the green screen, I'm fairly certain I had a better idea of how it should look and sound than some of the other tried and true actors per se, who, getting in front of a green screen is tricky, and trying to give a believable news report, there's a real science to that, making it believable, especially if you're going to be reading from a teleprompter or trying to relay information. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do, like people might think, especially if you take into consideration the magnitude of this story we're telling. In one case, in one scene in particular, it seems like we're under attack, and the spacecraft is flying overhead, and I have to kind of duck for cover. So, from an acting standpoint, it's fun to try and get in that mindset, but then to also think about it, to try and make it real, as if, okay, how would I respond if this were happening, if I were in some war zone of sorts, and really had to take cover. And there are people out there who deal with that. We have correspondents in other countries who are in war-torn areas, and so it's not that far-fetched, the general premise of all this. So I got to have a lot of fun with that, and I think bring my own sort of expertise, if you will, to the table when it came to shooting the scenes. Of course, it was funny. I had actually gotten a project that had, before this one, forced me to not shave my head, but get the closest haircut I've ever had in my life. So we had to wait for the hair to grow out a little bit before I looked like a legitimate news reporter again. Thank you, Jeffrey, for your patience with that whole process. But we finally got it done. And no, I don't think any of the script needed changed. I just kind of needed to make it my own when I got a chance to do the scenes. And thankfully, Jeffrey was pleased with what he saw, and you know, it's in the trailer now, and it all looks really good. And I'm just excited about the whole process.
Great.
And see, that's an insight that nobody else would think about. Mm-hmm. That a legitimate news reporter does not have short hair on the sides. Now, see, I would have never thought of that, but Jay knows. See,
well,
somehow,
and it goes even deeper than that. See, there are some trendy haircuts now that some of these news anchors, news reporters do have it shaved close on the sides, but we're setting this in the 90s, correct? Years. When
right, yeah,
we're a bit different. So to try and make it look realistic from the time stamp, yeah, it wouldn't. I would not have fit the bill. People would have called me out immediately.
So bushy sides are a sign of what is it? Intellect or professionalism? How does that work?
Yeah, right.
I don't know. So see, it's insights like that he brings to the table, and so when we actually get to our morning show, I'm really excited about that because he's actually been in a morning show for many years, so he's going to be giving us inside information.
Awesome!
I'm excited about that.
I know it's a little bit of a different world sometimes. I worked at an ABC affiliate station for a little while as a internet news producer, but I would get pulled in to do camera or teleprompter sometimes. So teleprompter is always a little nerve-wracking because you're always like, am I going too fast? Am I going too slow? Oh no.
Yeah, it's tricky.
That's what most people don't know. Usually I think 9 out of 10 times if an anchor is like kind of stumbling over their words or kind of pausing, it's because the teleprompter fell behind or something.
Silly teleprompter.
So with the crowdsourcing, I think it's great how you're using that. Is there any tip you would share that you've picked up doing this for someone who might think about doing crowdfunding? We're still learning. You're still learning. It's not done yet, right? So.
Right. We have a couple of weeks left. It's tough. Everybody always says it's tough, but until you get your feet in it and experience it, it really is. That's true. It is tough. This is the first crowdfunding I've ever done. Mm-hmm. They say the important thing is to get people involved early, and put together a team because it's all about publicity, right? Mm-hmm. And what we find is it's trying to break through the noise, because everybody has a film, everybody has a sci-fi movie, so trying to break through and get attention among everyone else, that's the tough part, I think.
I like how you're giving people opportunity to participate in the different scenes. I think that's a great way to get people excited and part of the crowd. It's a marketing tool also.
Yeah.
So some people call you Hitchcock Whisperer.
Yeah, that's what it says on my book. I don't know if that's true. But yes, I teach suspense techniques, and my book Suspense with a Camera, it just came out in October, so that's doing really well. And what I do is I teach workshops to filmmakers and screenwriters on how to incorporate suspense into their films, and teaching them, how to bring their audience in, because it's really all about connecting with the audience and giving the audience an experience instead of just being a passive viewer.
That's great. And
so there's a lot of things that Hitchcock did, and so we kind of boil it all down into simplistic terms and ways that you can do that in your film. And in fact, Not From Space is it's going to be using a lot of those techniques. So not only is it sci-fi and comedy, but it is going to be pretty suspenseful too, by the way.
Mm-hmm. I was going to ask you about that, if you pulled any Hitchcock tricks for this production. So,
well, you can imagine Hitchcock didn't do any sci-fi, unless if you count The Birds. Yeah. The Birds might be kind of sci-fi, but if he would have done an alien invasion movie, what would he have done? because he would have found some unique way to do it that would have been different than anybody else. I think he would have been very interested in this concept of doing a live broadcast for 2 hours.
Yeah, for sure.
Because the thing about it is, the thing that makes it difficult, is that there's a tendency to want to go behind the scenes and to follow characters, kind of like the Newsroom does on HBO or something like that. We don't do that. We never get to follow the characters behind the scenes. So any kind of drama that happens, it has to be live on the air. And so there's this kind of they kind of hold back. So it's very subtle. But yeah, we found a way to make it work. So,
well, and that's one of the things that I really like about the scripts. You know, you don't get to see the what happens in the newsroom and stuff like you do on these fictional type shows. But this is more like a real broadcast. What you turn on the TV. You know, what you see is what you get, and there is no shortage of drama in front of the camera at any given time and on a news set between co-anchors or reporters in the field and all this. A lot of time you're not really privy to it, but speaking from a news perspective, it's happening. And, you know, one of the things I learned in TV news is the viewers love a peek behind the scenes, not a literal take the camera into the newsroom, but there's something about the chaos that ensues during breaking news that the viewers really get a rush from. If a news anchor, you know, puts their finger to their ear and breaks sentence and says, hold on a second, we're getting information, people love that. There's something very dramatic about knowing that something is happening in the moment, right then. Hey, this guy's getting updates. This is new. This is fresh. This is fluid, and it's changing. The viewers really might be smooth there. It just cannot be polished when you're dealing with live television, though. And so I think this script that Jeffrey's come up with is a good representation of weapons. I mean, to a script and an alien encounter, but I think it speaks to what people are really looking for when they turn on them. And then there's, I guess, a percentage of people who they want to see the polished news anchor and they want everything to be smooth. But I don't think people. I think they like seeing kind of a chaotic situation. And, you know, we know that people love watching live coverage of different events and everything. And so I think this really encapsulates a great broadcast as everything is playing out. And it's as if, okay, the anchors don't know what's going on. The reporters don't know what's going on. They're getting information and they're giving it to us. But what's going to happen next? And I think that's where the whole suspenseful aspect of it comes in.
And also we work that in too, because it's supposed to be the first day of broadcast and they're not ready. So there's a lot of technical problems that happen in the first half of the film that are kind of used as comic effect. People not hearing their cues and things like that. And we'll have an anchor doing her hair in the camera as if it's a mirror, not realizing she's on the air. And green screen's not working. The weatherman doesn't get his weather map working. And then dealing with people looking in the window in the backdrop during the live show. So yeah, there's a lot of kind of awkward quirkiness that we bring into the storytelling to kind of give you that live feel as great. Well.
And everybody thinks about Hitchcock as suspense only, but Hitchcock had humor mixed in his stuff too. So
absolutely, everything about his work is humor. He even said that Psycho was a practical joke. He was quite the prankster in real life, actually, and it really shows throughout most of his films. There's especially in his earlier works, it's very comedic. Murder scenes are treated as kind of funny. So, and if you've watched Trouble with Harry, that's one of his best comedic works. Lots of humor there. So, absolutely.
Well, the project sounds really great. I wish you guys the best of luck. We're going to help spread the word for you. I hope all of our listeners can, if they find this interesting, go click over to the Indiegogo site. So before you guys go, can you tell everybody again where they can find you, both any individual projects you have, plus, of course, Not From Space.
Well, the movie has a Twitter account, Dairy Cola, at Dairy Cola. That's a character in the film, by the way. It's one of the fictional sponsors that becomes a problem. You'll know what that means when you actually hear the original broadcast. And my Twitter account is at Borges Film. And we have a production page, which is borges.com/NFS. And that also leads to our Indiegogo page, which is, just search for Not From Space on Indiegogo.
All right.
And you can.
I was just gonna say, this is one of a couple projects I'm involved with right now. So if anybody wants to keep up with me, last name is Plyburn. The easiest way I can tell people is it's like plywood burning, ply burn. And that's weird, but that's my last name. So yeah, I'm on all social media outlets and hoping to continue pushing forward with this one and have some success and have some fun with Not From Space.
Well, good luck, and thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you.
But the question is, where did they go?
Hey everybody, this is Jamin Winans, the director of Ink and The Frame, and this is Genretainment.
Well, thanks to Jeffrey and Jay for taking the time to tell us about Not From Space. Sorry I wasn't able to join Marks in the interview. Now please check out their Indiegogo campaign if you are interested in supporting the film, and we will have all of the links mentioned in the show notes.
So that's it for today's episode of Genretainment. Before we go, we want to remind you that you can always keep track of us by subscribing to us on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or by following our Genretainment Facebook page, my Twitter account, which is at Mr. Marks, clicking over to genretainment.com, or just follow all of the shows at sci-fi-pulse-radio.com.
We'll be back soon with all new guests from our favorite films, TV shows, novels, and web series. Genretainment is a production of Alien Jungle Bug Productions. Until next time. Bad monkey.